It's been a while since we've done an armory video, so we're going to rewire a weapon with a wire that popped. So this is an absolute BFFIE weapon. We've already put it in an acetone bath, so all the wire is gone. Usually, long time ago, I used to use a Dremel to Dremel out the groove here, but an acetone bath works great. Let it sit there for about 20-30 minutes and all the glue and all the wire's gone. But you still get some remnants, so I've got a couple different picks here that I use to try to scrape out any other glue pieces. It's nice to have a vise to work on, so if you have a vise, any vise that you can mount on a table, it's helpful. But all I'm doing here is just trying to get any of the glue that's inside the groove out. So I usually just kind of scrape it with this tool that I have. It's like a dentist pick. I don't it got given to me by my old coach, so I don't know where to get one, but any tool with a small piece at the end that you can use to scrape out the inside will work. But I also have this, which is just a couple bucks from Walmart. It's a wire brush. You can get it from, I'm sure you can get it from any tool store. Just kind of scrape out whatever I can, clean off the blade, get ready to put the wire in. Like I said, using an acetone bath works great. So I just have a metal tube, seal one end, put acetone in the other, and then tie off a string to the end of the blade here. That way I can have it sit in the bath and pull the blade out with a wire or with a string. First time I did it, I didn't have a string, so I had to dump out the whole tube. Wasn't able to reuse the acetone, but excuse me. But the blade's pretty clean now. We're going to put on our barrel. This is an FWF German barrel. I believe it's a German extra barrel. A little bit thicker, a little bit more durable. Kind of helps prevent the dings and dents that you might get on these barrels, and that might make or cause your tip to stick. They say just do this finger tight, but I've been armoring for a while, so I usually give it a little bit of a turn with a small wrench, not too much. The reason why you want to do finger tight, because you don't want to pop that barrel. If you go really too tight, if you go too tight on that barrel, you can pop it, which I have. So finger tight is fine if you're new to this, but if you know where it needs to get to, you can do it with a little wrench. That's a tip setter right there. A couple of different ways that you can put this wire through. Some people have the wire through the barrel, then screw it on, which works just fine too. Or you can just kind of try to thread the needle there, find the opening of the groove. The tip setters, make sure that you don't, when you put that seat in and you pull the wire out at the same time, you're not ripping the wire out of the little seat. So use tip setter to kind of push it in at the same time that you pull out, so your wire doesn't get crimped inside the barrel. It used to take me a while to wire blades. It doesn't take me too long to rewire blades now. Usually do it after class if anything breaks or anything is malfunctioning. 20 minutes after class or after club, I can usually have most of our equipment fixed, including any body cords. The tape at the end there, I used to wrap the wire around, but when I try to straighten out this wire, I kind of bend it down so that it's curving downwards, hopefully already kind of going into the wire. And what the tape is there for is to just try to maintain that, not stretch, but the tautness of the wire. So I just wrap it around the tape. I'm going to show you with this camera here that I've got a new jig. It's not new. Another armory friend gave it to me. I used to use the PVC caps with a chain. I still have it, but this is great for having to glue the wire in. But if you use the PVC caps with a chain between it, it ends up looking like a bow and arrow, or not an arrow, but a bow. I think I'll use it a little bit later on. But this is good. It's got little holes on either side that I can put the blade in, so it bends. And all I'm doing now is just kind of checking to make sure the wire is all inside the groove before I start putting in the super glue. Super glue I use here is a gel type, but it's a little liquidy, so it gets inside the groove. I think I'm running out on this one. I'm gonna probably change it out. Yeah, I do change it out. Got a little bit of left in there. I'll probably use it for something else. I'll just run the glue right down the groove. I like this glue that I use, and I wish I could remember which one it is. But it's not too liquidy where it just kind of runs all the way down the blade as I'm doing it, going into the barrel or going into the tang end. Kind of stays where it is. And then what I'll do is I'll get a little bit of a paper towel here and just kind of wipe it off from the top, hopefully pushing in some of the glue into the groove as well. And whatever excess that I pick up, I usually just kind of go back, wipe off the sides. It gets kind of pushed off to the sides, but I'll try to put a little bit more, or use the excess that I get on the paper towel, and try to get more into the groove. I have a German wire in here. We use all German parts, so it's not a good idea to mix French German or Leon Paul parts together. They all don't like each other. So we have a German barrel tip. So we are using a German wire. It's a blue wire that we get from Absolute. We get most of our equipment from Absolute. Not trying to promote Absolute fencing gear or anything else. It's just who we get all our gear from. Well, the German blue wire, I can tell, or it changes color slightly when it's wet. So I can see where the glue, if I missed any spots with the glue. And I think I'm using up the rest of this glue here. I hurt my right hand about a month and a half ago. It's been tough for me fencing. So you can see that I was using two hands to try to squeeze that thing. Also, if you notice, I'm wearing a Brooklyn Bridge Fencing Club shirt. I had ordered one from Dan Kellner. I've got a number of different fencing club shirts that I use for practice. So in case you're wondering why I have a Brooklyn Bridge Fencing Club, I am part of the All-American Fencing Club, so or All-American Fencing Academy. So we're here in Fayetteville, North Carolina, but I do own a number of fencing club shirts from different friends that owns clubs. Dan Kellner and I fenced in college at the same time. I was at the University of Chapel Hill while he was fencing in college as well. All I'm doing here is checking to make sure the wire is still inside the groove, so you can tell, just looking across the top of it, no wire sticking out. The reason why we had to rewire this weapon was because the wire was sticking out, and while I was trying to fix it, it just popped. So we're going to let this dry. Have it sit here upside down. The reason why we're doing it upside down, so if the glue does run, it's going to run down towards the bend there. Alright, so we let it dry. I'm taking the wire off the end of this part here where I had the tape. Take the tape off, and we're going to put some spaghetti tubing on this wire. I'll probably use a different, what I'm doing there is I'll sometimes stick a piece of tape right at the end, but that's not working. I'll just get another piece of tape just so that the wire's not moving around, or I'm not pulling it off the blade groove there. There we go. but I'll probably take it off in just a second because I've got to put the spaghetti tubing on it. Straighten out the wire, make it easier for me to put the spaghetti tubing. Little hanging part there, I'll just burn that right off. We've got a lot of different leftover spaghetti tubing, so I just grab whatever I have. Usually I try to get the transparent one. That way I can, if I'm fixing weapons, I can see if there's a break in the wire. Very rarely do I see a break in the wire inside the spaghetti tubing. That's usually not an issue. I think I'm getting caught in the end here. I've got a little crimp in the tube at the end. I'll get it through in just a second. There we go. We have it through. I'm going to take off that tape so I can go into the groove just a little bit. Now for the guard. Nothing special about the guard. These are... this isn't a club weapon. This is actually one of our fencer's weapons that I'm fixing. I think that's just an absolute guard. Nothing special about it. We do use, at the All-American Fencing Academy, we do use bayonets. We don't have anybody that fences internationally, so I used to use 2 prongs for a long time. Then I got convinced to move over to bayonets. Not easy to fix, but they don't break often. So what I'm doing here is I'm removing the insulation from the wire to expose the wire underneath. So I burned the cloth part off, and then I'm using some sandpaper to take off the remainder of it. German wires tend to have another piece of, or not another piece, but some other insulation. So just in case I put another flame to it, remove any, oh, that was hot. To remove any other insulation that I cannot see on that wire. But Leon Paul plugs, you know, when they break, they break. There is no fixing it, at least in my experience, or at least the sockets. But they last a good while. And in terms of what connects, I don't have to worry about those banana plugs, you know, kind of getting too thin. I have to expand them again. The Leon Paul plugs and sockets, they just kind of hold on to each other. But when they break, they tend to break spectacularly. So, but they last a while. In my experience, they've got pretty good longevity. Less for me to fix than I had with the 2 prongs. I always ended up with a lot of different 2-prong parts. But this is one of our fencer's weapons. Usually we have the absolute bayonet plugs, but our fencer uses Leon Paul bayonet plugs. So make sure you have Leon Paul body cords with it. Absolute plugs do not like Leon Paul plugs at all. You'll get constant white lights. And a fencer that just came in. And you see we have a transparent pad there from Absolute. And a Visconti grip. Gotta tighten that right in there. I don't think I show it on this video, but I do test a weapon before I start removing all the excess parts. So let's just, I'll just tell you that I did test a weapon in one of these cuts. And it all does work. If you do use a bayonet, or if you're transitioning to a bayonet, have a bayonet body cord kind of nearby when you put this together, because you want to have that bayonet part kind of going into the groove of your hand, or it's not in your way. So when I'm putting the tip on, you'll notice I have a tape roll there for my barrel, my guard to sit on, so the weapon doesn't roll back and forth when I'm putting in a tip and it screws. So a little bit of helpful hint if you're having difficulty putting screws in. I've already stretched out the spring before I put it in there. I always re-stretch the spring so it passes weight. But if you're ever working on tips and screws, whether it's an epee or foil, put the guard on a roll of tape and it doesn't roll around. I like to lie flat on the table so that if you do drop a screw, Does it drop far? Also, I've got a yoga mat on the table, which has been helpful because I have dropped screws on the table, and it just, whatever reason, it just starts rolling around. Now it's rolled onto the floor and I can't find a screw. So the yoga mat was actually kind of helpful. That was a happy accident when I put it there, and kind of kept it there ever since. And if I ever burn it, break it, whatever, I'll get another one from Five and Below and have it on the table. Have a little trouble with this screw. Sometimes you do. The screw is good. And the hole that it's going into is pretty good. I'm just having trouble lining it up. Usually what I end up doing there, it's just the screw just keeps going in sideways. So I'm going to turn that over, do the other side. Sometimes if I get one side in, I do a better job on the other side. So I just go into one side and screw that in. Always make sure you have a finger on the tip there. Otherwise, sometimes, you know, you might miss something, or the screw doesn't go all the way in and your spring just jettisons that tip out, and now you're looking for the tip and the spring. Alright, so we got one screw in. Let's turn this over. Get the other side, the part that I was having difficulty with. Maybe I already got it in. Okay, so I did get it in already. I thought I didn't. Alright, now to put the tape. In terms of how much tape I put on the blade, excuse my finger there. I put as much, so if you kind of make an L with your hand from the tip of your finger, your pointer finger, to your thumb is about how long I make the tape. I use gaffer's tape. I buy from Amazon. It's the inch wide gaffer's tape. Go right below the screws there. The reason being, in case you didn't know already, you know, in case you ever have to take the tip off and need to remove the screws, you don't have to deal with the tape. So tape just below the screws. Make sure you're pressing on the side of one side there, not just go side by side. So flat on that side, nice and flat on that side. Had a student do this one time and he went by quickly and there was bubbles and space between the tape and the barrel. I'm sorry, not barrel, the blade. So you just take your time, make sure it's flat on each side every time you roll it around. And then for the barrel, you want to just about a little over an inch wide of tape. Make sure you get it all the way to the end of the barrel there. If you have any barrel showing, it could possibly touch the lame when you're trying to score a touch, and that will cause a ground and your light won't go off. And I'm just being picky there. That little part right there doesn't, I'm just going to cut that off. Makes no difference, but just want it to look good. I'm trying to rip it off. It's not going to work. I'm just going to end up using the pair of scissors. Got that part of the difference. Picky. Yeah, I'm just being picky about that part right there. Anyway, almost done. Just got to remove the wire on the other end. You'll see me do that in just a second. But I'm not a certified armorer, but that's how I rewire a weapon. I'm sure there might be more efficient ways or better ways to do it, but that's how we rewire a weapon. So there's that little piece of wire that I have to remove. A little bit of hint there in case you don't do it already. I used to try to cut that off, but just move it back and forth and it'll pop right off, just like if you're bending a paper clip back and forth, and there it is, pop right off, and then it's near the screw there. Anyway, hope that was helpful for you. Hope it helps you problem solve some of the things that you're doing when you're armoring, and hope everyone's doing well out there. Remember to try fencing, and you're daring not to love it.